Donkey, what the hell are you doing? Get out of the car. Go. So we're working on the Jaguar project, and I ran into the first really rough spot that's going to need some patching and some fabrication work. So this is going to be a pretty good one. Figured I'd make a video on it and show you what I've done so far. So far I've just been going around working out little dents with the hammer and dolly. Got this all smoothed out. This was pretty rough. Got it smoothed out where it matches the headlight bucket again. I had to unrivet the headlight bucket so I could get in here and hammer and dolly that smooth. And it's looking good. Got it all nice and curved around. That side I had already worked a bunch of dents out. Here was one that I had to put a stud on and pull out. There's no access to hit it with a hammer and dolly. But over here, this was all caved in and had a bunch of Bondo in it. And I started pulling it, and the flange on the inside started wobbling, and I'm like, wait a minute, something's not right. So let me go underneath and show you. Somebody has done a patch on here, and it doesn't look very good. So there we go. Get away from that light. There we go. So yeah, they flanged it, which is not good, because then moisture can get trapped and it'll just rust again. And over here it's overlapping the skin. You can't do that. Moisture gets trapped under there and then it just rusts again. And they didn't match the contour, they just bent an angle. That's why it was dipped down so low on the top, is this fender curves and this patch is flat. So when I started pulling it up to try to match the contour of the car, it did that. So what I'm gonna have to do is cut this out, and I'm gonna have to make a piece that actually fits in there properly, and then hit it with a shrinker stretcher along this seam to get it to bow out to match the fender, which I'll show you how that works. But the other thing I don't like is, as I rub this, you see that white dust coming off where the weld seam is? I think they used galvanized metal, which is, again, just not right. So, yeah, I can't in good conscience leave this as is, so I'm gonna have to fix it the right way. So that's what we're gonna do now. So back up top, I went ahead and laid out my cut seams. So that's where I'm gonna cut it out. I'll do one side at a time and then cut that section out. And what I'll probably do is hammer it flat, use it as a template for the new piece, and then cut it. And what I was talking about is, you can see the fender bows upwards. Well, if you put a flat patch in here, it's either gonna dip way low like they had it with a bunch of Bondo in it, or it's gonna do like it did up here when you try to bow it back out. So my plan is I'll make sort of the same patch, but then that inner flange, I'll hit it with a shrinker stretcher, or a shrinker, hit it with the shrinker, and as it shrinks that flange, it'll cause this to bow upward until it matches the contour of the fender. Same thing up here. So time to get started. All right, so here's the first angle I made. It's gonna be the patch to go in there. I made it a little bit long. I always like to trim it down because when you shrink and stretch it, it changes length. So I always leave it long until I get the curvature right, and then I'll cut it down to size so it fits in there. So now it's time to hit it with the shrinker and put some bend in it to match the contour of the fender. As you can see, it's not perfectly straight. One of these days I'll be able to buy an actual brake, but right now My metal brake is one I made out of angle iron, and it does the trick. So now it's time to shrink it and give it some curve. So here is the shrinker. It's just an Eastwood one you put in the vise. You put this in here in the jaws and then hit the handle down, and the jaws pinch the metal together and shrink it. And when it shrinks, it changes the shape and gives it a little bit of a curve. So I would show you, but I need both hands to do this. All right, so here's the first patch. Just got to lay it on here, getting ready to weld it in. But as you can see, it now matches the contour of the fender. It's got a nice bow to it to match it. And now it's time to weld it in. So there you have it. This half's welded in. It's as you can see, it matches the contour a lot better. Actually follows the curve of the car. Line came out straight. And it's a flush patch, so it doesn't have that overlapping seam that'll rust out later from underneath. By the time I ground it down some, by the time you hit it with some undercoating, you'll never know that patch is there. So now I just got to do the other side, and this spot will be done. That'll be for another day. It's time to drink beer and go in.